They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Loan you that college promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed, disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of own nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Welcome back to Rogue Ways. And I hope, oh wow, I'm a little too loud. All right, I'm just adjusting. Things should be good now. It is fantastic to be here with you all. I am excited to do another winning report tonight. I hope you like the title, A Win and Some Bliss. Let me know if you get it. Not that there's a whole lot to get. But anyways, it's good to be here. I love fall. I love that it's getting cooler. I love that I get to wear warm things and see all the beautiful leaves. I hope you are enjoying it as well. It's an awesome time of year. It's also just things get a little bit easier. They spread out a little bit more. There's a little bit more pause. The night comes a little bit faster, which I kind of like because I like sleeping. So I like the daytime too, but it just, there's so many good things about fall. And I hope that you also are feeling that way. The chickens like it, I think. They definitely want to hide from the sun. Like they like to be in the shade. So even when it's kind of cool out, they'll still hide from the sun. It's really cute. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. Other times they want to go be out in the sun and like roll around in it. But it's very interesting. So I think they're happier too to be a little bit cooler. One of our chickens is currently molting. So she looks super silly. Her feathers are everywhere in the yard and she's just got like none of her pizzazz. She just looks like kind of mangled and cancerous and like she's dying. And it's amazing because she doesn't know that. She's still her amazing self. That's all she knows. If only we could be so lucky. So it's nice to see you guys. We've got Tina Bina in the YouTube chat. We've got Isaac Davis, who is hyped in the Rockfin chat. I'm hyped as well. I think I've mentioned it, but I am moving back towards what it was always supposed to be. Once I went to 3 times a week, what it was supposed to be was 1 interview a week, 1 kind of just me news summary or whatever topics, and then 1 middle path, right? Which is supporters only and has the more spiritual focus. So, you know, I'm moving back towards that now. So my goal is to do Sundays for interviews, Tuesdays like today for the winning report, whatever else might come up. And then Thursdays remain middle path, that spiritual focus. So that's the goal. So far it's been coming along. It might take a little bit of adjusting because there's some things I scheduled months out that I'm not going to reschedule. But moving forward, we should have more and more of this, which I love. I love doing these episodes. I know you guys enjoy them too. Got Yeti Slang in the YouTube chat. We've got David Gosling, who is a Rogue supporter over there. Thank you, David, for that support. I appreciate you. Appreciate all of you who support in whatever ways you do. It is truly, you know, just I'm so grateful that I get to be here with all of you doing this and that you get to share that love back in whatever way you choose to support, even if it's just being here, watching, commenting, sharing. All of that good stuff is always so helpful. Hitting the like button, telling other people about it if you like it. That's all great. If you know other shows that you think I would be great on, also suggesting me as a guest to them is cool and helpful. That's rad. And there's so many other ways. In fact, we'll talk about some of them now. Maybe. We will. We'll get there together. We've got so many ways. I also am really grateful always when people go to my favorite things tab here on rogueways.org and use these links to go buy the things you're already going to buy for yourself, to heal the world, to heal your heart and soul, to heal your body. All of these things are there for you. And when you use these links to go grab them, I get a little kickback. It costs you nothing. Some of them are even cheaper because you use these codes. For example, the Aqua Cure. Today is the first day that in like a long time. I've been home all day and I haven't used the AquaCure once somehow. That's very rare lately. Usually I'm doing it for hours a day. And you all know the story of how that has changed my life in amazing ways for the better. And I highly suggest everybody out there gets an AquaCure. I know they're pricey and I know it's worth it. And so I know this is also very cheap for what you're getting. George Weissman, of course, is an amazing human. If you haven't, for some reason, watched the episode we've done together, we've done 2. They're both worth your time. The first one, however, I show you direct evidence of skin malformation so I believe was cancerous, that was on my scalp and was then gone after I did just 5 days of AquaCure application directly to the skin. So that's just one of the many, many ways that AquaCure has healed me and changed my life. And if you use this link, like I said, and use the coupon code Rogue Ways, you get a huge, massive discount. It's amazing, actually. I had someone save $500 on they got the AquaCure, the distiller, and maybe something else. $500 they saved. So depending on what you're going to get, it's going to save you a lot, and it gives me a little kickback. The Phoenix Aurelius tab, of course, is amazing. Click here to go to Phoenix Aurelius, use this link, get me a little kickback, whether you're getting the spigyrosomal vitamin C, the liposomal vitamin C, any of the spagyric tinctures. You know, if you take herbs, this is just a better way to do it. The spagyric tincture is even more potent and amazing. It carries all the same information, all the same nutrients, and then it just does it more powerfully and with less. Right. So you just do a few drops a day. It's kind of the homeopathic idea, sort of the essential oil idea mixed together as one almost might be a way to think about it. So fantastically high quality. You know, it's an actual lab there. He's an actual scientist, and this stuff is really beautiful. So if you're going to get any of his stuff, clicking from here is helpful for me. The Chi-O, I'm always so grateful when you guys use this link to go to Chi-O and get any of their products. They're all fantastic. Of course, you know that I love the Chi-O pendant that I wear most of the times you see me. I try to wear this all the time. And this also has changed my life in profound ways by sending these energy frequencies into my field all day, every day. So I'm just easier and easier to heal, easier and easier to do better and better in all ways, soul, heart, mind, and body. So I love Chi-O, and you use this link, you support me too. Honey Colony, of course, has everything else you could want for your stem cells, for cellular senescence, for your telomeres to shorten. That's amazing. Actually, that's life extension, literally, for your mitochondrial function, for CBD. I love this CBD. It's my favorite, actually, and all sorts of other body care and healthcare remedies. And these are all from Miriam Henane. Oh my God, I said it right for like the first time ever. And she's a beautiful person to support as well. She'll be on the show very soon. Actually, I'm very excited to chat with Miriam again. The Thrive Freedom Portal is always fantastic. If you haven't yet joined, it's a beautiful place to be if you use this link. It also supports me a bit, and the holistiCemily.com does not give me a referral back. That's because Emily deserves every penny she gets. I just love her products. So if you use this link to go there, it's just nice to do. All of that, of course, are fantastic ways to support the show. So thank you to all of you who use those links to get those things that you already want. And of course, if you want a book from me, I sell them here. I give you an inscription. If you want one-on-one spiritual support, healing sessions, guided sessions with your guides and allies, getting messages through, getting blessings and healings, any of that stuff is under spiritual support. You can just book a one-on-one session. And if you go to the shop, there's everything else I sell. Some crystals, some orgone, and One Day of Brightness tickets. This is actually really exciting. I am announcing for the first time our finalized One Day of Brightness day. And yeah, it's only 3 people this time for the first time ever. This is starting our 3rd cycle of One Day of Brightnesses, I believe. I believe this is the 9th One Day of Brightness. And so we started on winter solstice. So this is going to be the 3rd winter solstice One Day of Brightness, commemorating all of those beautiful One Day of Brightnesses that came before, celebrating the winter solstice. It's on the 18th of December. It's not on the solstice. We just get as close as we can while being on a weekend day so that people who work can come join us. It is virtual. It's on Zoom, as always. The recording is available if you have to step out for part of the day, as always. And I know it's really early, but some people have already bought their tickets. That's how much people know it is worth it. And that's how much people love One Day of Brightness. And I love it the same. It is always an exceptionally powerful day of healing, upliftment, and more. So I will be there, of course, as your host. We'll do some spiritual healing, some channeling and whatever else, some tarot in the morning. There's usually a good long session where we just really cement the field, create the field, and get deeper in with one another. We've got Joshua Lewis. He has been on the show. If you missed that episode, I highly recommend you go listen or watch. Super amazing work that Joshua does. He will be back on the show usually. Likely, I shouldn't say that, but usually we get people in right before One Day of Brightness to talk again. So you'll get to catch him again if you didn't also. But Josh is amazing. He's a clairaudient, clairsentient, clairvoyant, and a conscious physical medium, meaning that he doesn't go into a trance or any of that stuff. He just is able to receive messages and bring things through in various ways. And he also has ways to teach you to do it yourself. So we'll get some amazing results and experiences out of that. I'm very excited about Josh being there. And of course, Marty Leeds is coming to One Day of Brightness for the first time. And I'm so excited about that. Marty, of course, is a good friend. Love Marty's been on the show a handful of times, many times over the years. And it's always a great conversation with Marty. I've been on his show a few times as well. She's just one of my favorite people. And I'm so excited that Marty will be there with us on One Day of Brightness. So less people, big bang for your buck, though. It's going to be really fun. Very cool. I didn't really mean to necessarily focus on this so much today, but I did just finalize it today. And so I just remembered that it was here while we were in the shop, and I wanted to tell you all about it. If you want to be there, grab your ticket now. We will see you there. It's still 2 months away. No big deal. We got plenty of time. So that's all on the site. And of course, their sale on Rogue gear is over for now, but TeePublic actually runs sales like somewhat frequently. So if you ever do come here, you want to buy this stuff, buy it. Either way, you're supporting me, and I appreciate that. There's so many cool designs. You can get them on sweatshirts, t-shirts, totes, and all kinds of things. It's just a nice little way to support the show. But if you want to, you can just keep coming back until they have a sale. They often have 25 to 35% off sales at least once a month, I think. So it's worth checking out. I try to remind you guys, but I don't always remember. So that's the stuff. That's the ways to support. We've got people in the Rockfin chat. Dakota's here. What's up, Rogue Warriors? Johnny Larson. Yo. Nicholas Burnett. Let's go. She said it took me a second. We have Alex Donardo in the chat. Greetings, Alex. Nicholas says, great tip, catch alive. Yay, I'm so glad you're here. Great to catch alive. Yeah, that makes more sense. And we have people over on YouTube as well, but not everybody's chatting. But we're going to jump into it. There's so much to make fun of today. This isn't funny, although I just have to ask if it's true, if it's real. I don't always think it is. So you guys tell me what you think. Is it real or is it not? This is from dailymail.com. It says exclusive. This is playing with fire. It could spark a lab-generated pandemic. Where have we seen a lab-generated pandemic before? I can't put my finger on it. They say experts slam Boston lab where scientists have created a new deadly COVID strain with an 80% kill rate. Of course, they're talking about mice. 8 in 10 mice infected with the lab-created strain have died. But they say researchers added Omicron spike protein to the original Wuhan COVID strain. I didn't. So they mixed Omicron with whatever the original strain was. Omicron spike is highly mutated, which made it the most infectious variant ever. So they added the most infectious variant aspect to the most powerful one. They combined those and got an 80% kill rate. I'm not sure why anyone is ever doing this at all. Johnny pointed out earlier today, like it's like the pussiest way to do warfare, right? So you're just like, create this thing that no one can see or like defend themselves against, and then just release it and watch it like decimate everyone. It is pretty pussy. Definitely takes some cowardice, but it also takes some deep evil to just create something, if this is real, that would kill 80% of what it infected. Again, I'm not convinced viruses exist, like literally at all. And no one who reads The Invisible Rainbow could remain very sure about it. Let's put it that way. If you read Invisible Rainbow and you see the mountains of evidence, way more evidence than have ever been presented for viral theory, like by factors of thousands of times more evidence. I mean, there's no evidence for viral theory, basically. None at all. And the book also goes into that and really destroys that. But there's mountains of evidence that it's electric. It's radiation sickness. And electricity is radiation, by the way, and so are radio waves. So all types of radiation make us sick, it turns out, and especially when directed at us at the 5G millimeter wave level, perhaps. So there's lots of things that whatever we're calling COVID could be, and we just always have to at least stay open minded to that, right? That whatever I just say, whatever we're colloquially referring to as COVID, we don't actually know what it is. So when they report things like this, I'm like, well, what did you create? And how do you know that it killed all those mice? Because we've never, ever proven transmission. So how do you know what it is? I don't know. And then other people would say, if this is real and 8 out of 10 mice did die, they would say, well, how do you prove that? How do you prove it wasn't transmission of this, viral vector? And I would say, I don't, but again, how would it never have been proven before, but then be happening now? Do you know what I mean? In labs, we have never been able to transmit a virus to another person and have it get them sick. Not once, not ever. That's a literal truth. And so why would it be happening now? So I don't know. They could have, and it could be a lot of useful idiots, right? Or not even useful idiots, but like just people who genuinely believe and they've been trained in very specific processes and they're doing very specific things and they're doing them with exosomes, as we heard so much about from Kaufman and et al. In the past few years. And they could just be thinking that that's exactly what a virus is and that this is what they're cool. But someone else nearby could also be like, all right, now beam in some fucking radiation. Oh, look, 8 out of the 10 mice died. I don't know. I don't know what might be happening, but I just know it seems highly questionable at this point that viruses exist. So what is it? What's killing the mice? And who knows? What does exist? Parasites exist. Mold exists. Um, Other types, but bacteria exist. So there are vectors of transmission that are tiny and or large that can go from person to person, making people sick. But viruses don't seem like one of them, and exosomes don't either. They've literally taken materials from people's snot, mouth, blood, feces. Feces is different, and put it in other people and didn't get them sick. So this research has not been peer reviewed. There's also another, possible red flag that this is just scare tactics, scaremongering, and or something else was happening, or it was like anthrax or something, right? Which is a bacteria. Am I wrong? I think it's a bacteria. So whatever they were exposed to, 8 out of 10 of them died. I really, again, I think they want us to be really scared. I think perhaps this could be a precursor for them turning up the 5G or other radiation or, other toxins. There's another thing that is real and provable. Various toxins, heavy metals, etc., that you could, for example, possibly spray from airplanes, which we've also seen them proof of concept. So there's lots of stuff that could be going on, and there's lots of stuff they could be mentally preparing us for, right? Um, I forget what we're supposed to call that. Predictive programming. This is another form of it. So that could be what's going on. As soon as I saw this, I was like, go fuck yourself. You know? Like, go fuck yourself. I don't if viruses are real and you are doing this, go fuck yourself. Because what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, really, what does it take to be that fucked up? I don't know. Like who out of anybody working on this project is like, this is a great idea for humanity, I'm gonna do this. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? From the tiniest lab assistant to like the person running, all of you, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then, again, if this is just scare tactics, these people were hired to sort of play dumb or go along with it, or they actually are kind of dumb, or they just are so compartmentalized they don't see the whole thing. I'll still fuck all of you. Like, what are you fucking doing? So I count it as a win that it's getting easier and easier to just look at some of this and be like, "Oh, who fucking cares? Like, what the fuck is this supposed to be?" But I recognize that lots of people would be listening to me right now, or you, if you were to share this with someone and going, what the fuck is wrong with you? You don't think viruses are real? Like, what? You think that people are like, could be in on creating this fake story just to scare us? Like, yeah, I mean, I studied history. So I have an idea of what governments do. Also, if anybody like has a better light system, this ring thing is like so annoying sometimes. It like changes I don't know. It changes light intensity just on its own. It seems to change colors sometimes. Seems to be too bright sometimes, not bright enough. It's just they're I know, first world problems, right? Here's some more nonsense as we continue to win tonight. It says the universe is a scientific American. The universe is not locally real, and the physics Nobel Prize winners proved it. Elegant experiments with entangled light have laid bare a profound mystery at the heart of reality. I feel like this is really just some repackaged shit, but why is he holding Neptune's fucking trident, you know, in light? Like, what the fuck is that all about? If that's not some symbolism for bullshit, I don't know what is. Here it is reversed on the blackboard behind him. None of these things are ever by accident. This guy might have like no intent. He was just like part of who solved some fucking equation somewhere, and Scientific American showed up and was like, "Yo, pose like this," and they were like, did these things to it. He doesn't know that he's holding Neptune's trident, but here he is holding it with it mirrored next to him. I'm sure it's a mathematic symbol, but I still wonder. They always have many layers of meaning, right? So here's this guy. It's John Stuart Bell. His work sparked a quiet revolution in quantum physics. And whenever we read quantum physics, we should also always consider that it's all just bullshit, because it is basically unprovable bullshit most of the time. It's just mathematical equation. I'm not saying that math isn't math is amazing, but a lot of this math is just like, well, we think that therefore like this means that because the math shows this when we do this equation. The equation works, so therefore it's true. And it can be misused. We'll just say that, as we've seen with black matter and black holes and all of these things, which may or may not be real, and seemingly aren't. So they're saying that the universe isn't real, and especially not locally. And when they say local, they literally just mean like near you, right? So I've talked about before that consciousness seems non-local to me. And all that means is that consciousness is not located inside of your head. Like a lot of materialists think that consciousness is a function of your brain. It seems really obvious to me that consciousness exists, and it just so happens to come work with your brain and your body, because that's what it's doing right now. That's what we're doing right now here while we're alive. But your consciousness can leave, for example. It could go astral traveling. It can do all kinds of stuff, and that's not local. So it's a non-local consciousness, we could say. They're saying the universe isn't real locally. And all they really mean is that objects can only be influenced by their surroundings when they're talking about local, but that's not true. And entanglement proves it. They're saying entangling two electrons, for example, which means that when they're moved away from each other, you can spin one a certain direction and the other one will spin the exact same direction at the exact same speed. That's what entanglement is. They're sharing information, and it's faster than light. And they're just saying this proves that the universe isn't real. Well, this is like all really old news, but I don't know that they've ever, said it quite like that everything isn't real, therefore. But that is really what they want you to think. And by they, I mean, again, the people at who are controlling the sort of social, mental conception of reality, right? The people who craft all the news stories and do all the fucking spy craft, as Corey taught me the word, and all the psyops, right? Those people, they want you really badly to believe this. They want you to believe that this isn't real, whatever you call real. And this is my same bitch with the simulation theory, right? Where I'm like, same as my last guest, who was a really fun conversation. If you didn't check the interview we just did this last Sunday, then go check it out. Mike Rickasecker was really fun to talk to. And he was talking about the same thing, that we are in a simulation in a way, but not necessarily in the way you think when you say simulation, or not necessarily in this matrix that we're stuck in and someone designed a cage and it's here and it's just plugging into the metaverse, right? And therefore everything's not real. No, in fact, everything here is very real and it matters, right? And I've proved it to myself through past life stuff and how that affects this life, and my soul seems continuous between lives and all of these things. That's very real. What I do here affects that. If I murder a child, that's going to affect my soul. Very real, right? Doesn't matter if this is true, if we can affect this universe non-locally, or if we can do it in a way that changes material reality, So, like the measurement of an electron spinning, if we can affect that with our mind, it does not make this less real. It just makes us more powerful within it. But the way they spin it, they want you to think none of this reals, therefore it doesn't matter. And who also has that as their motto and their slogan? Oh, the Church of Satan. So I just always like to point out this shit when it pops up. This was October 6th. It was a little while ago, but they just do this as often as they can, where they're just like, by the way, your universe isn't real. Reality doesn't matter. Nothing really matters. Just like do what you want. Like let it all go. Don't worry about it. Girl, you do you. Like all this sort of shit ties together into the same lack of respect for yourself and your surrounding gorgeous, amazing universe. Gorgeous, amazing universe crafted so particularly and so beautifully. Remember, matrix just means mother. It actually is the closest interpretation we can get is the mother void. When we have a petri dish and we take a culture of bacteria that we can prove exist and we smear it on the on that petri dish is the matrix, right? All it is like this place that's ideal for anything to take shape because it's just waiting there. That's what the mother is, right? The womb is the same. You put the sperm in, it's just waiting. It's perfect for that sperm to come in and be perfectly impregnated and just create this amazing, beautiful, unique thing. That's the fucking matrix, not this crafted prison that doesn't matter. So just remember when you see shit like this, that's their goal. And we're winning because we see more and more through this, no matter how many Neptune fucking tridents they have people hold or whatever the fuck is going on. It's funny. Nicholas Burnett, thank you. Yes, like this video. Viruses are definitely fake. I've proven it to myself. Maybe you can prove it to yourself soon too. It took me a while. You remember, I actually was the first, it was like me and a few other people were literally the first time Andrew Kaufman ever revealed his exosome theory in public. We all released it simultaneously. And that was the first time I heard of it. And I was kind of like, huh, like this is fascinating, but you might be crazy. It took me a while. And then I had the great honor of having on Dr. Thomas Cowan before COVID even happened, before the virus thing was even really in my mind. And I was just talking to him about the heart and vortexes because he's just a fascinating guy. And then I had to have him back because he also was on the terrain theory thing. And I was like, this, because I just like, I understand him really well. And he talks in a way that like really, it's very persuasive to me. So I had him back on again to talk about that. And he had me pretty well convinced by the end of the episode. You can still go watch it. It's still a classic. And then, but I still was like, I don't know. I don't know. So I read Invisible Rainbow. I'm like, yeah, viruses don't exist. So, it took me that many times of really diving deeply into it to really convince myself. It's hard to let go of some of these lies. They're so deeply ingrained in us. So, don't worry. Wherever you're at is fine. Just keep questioning. It's all good. This is ironic and stupid. So we're winning when we knew years ago not to trust anything from Pfizer, way before any of this happened. But Pfizer's COVID drug, Paxlovid, may cause deadly blood clots. Aren't you getting sick of how many things cause deadly blood clots lately? Isn't it amazing how many things COVID, whatever we colloquially refer to as COVID is, causes blood clots? This injection that is experimental that many people chose to take for whatever reasons they did causes deadly blood clots. Pfizer's drug that they brought out to supposedly treat some of that causes deadly blood clots. You know what else causes deadly blood clots? Radiation. 5G specifically. So how many fucking things can you have that cause deadly blood clots before everybody dies? I think that's the question we're trying to solve right now as a species, because that seems to be where we're going. So if you took this, I'm sorry. I hope that you continue to heal yourself in various ways, soul, heart, mind, and body, to help rid yourself of whatever toxins you've ingested. But if you listened, again, before any of it, we saw it all coming. We talked about all of it. And we were amongst the few who knew that perhaps ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine could help instead and not cause deadly blood clots. They have some side effects too. All medications do. Even water does. Everything does. So you always have to weigh, the balance and see cost benefit ratio, right? But a lot less than the side effects of Paxlovid, apparently. Peacelovid. They're like peace love is the name of this drug. Pax is peace and love sounds like love. Paxlovid. It also has the little COVID ending in there. They're just so handy when they name things. And in addition to that, kids are apparently having fatal heart attacks while playing video games. Now, this isn't actually seemingly a way to hide the fatal heart attacks that kids are having since that experimental medication rolled out. It is actually true. But I also think that it's going to be used as an excuse because more and more kids play more and more video games, perhaps. So this article is actually good. It's from Activist Post, and they're saying, it'd be cool if this is on our radar and families take precautions and think about how much they let their kids play. And kids do, like, if you remember playing even like Pong, that's how old I am. And things like, Mario on the NES, like those were already really stressful for me personally, right? It was like terrifying to jump over the little holes and try to like get it just right. That was scary, and so your heart you get stressed out and you get tense and whatever, and kids don't know how to manage that shit, and they definitely shouldn't be playing that often no matter who you are. I think we can agree on that. I hope. So it is smart to think about this, but again, I also think we should, watch for them to if they haven't already blamed, children's deaths on this, they're gonna just use this in that way. But we will have been prepared because we know and we see through their lies because we are winners. Yeah, that's right. Dakota said, anything to divide us from the divine. This just in, nothing is real. Here's some Xanax. Now go cut your dick off. It's exactly their line, right? Johnny said we need this on a shirt. Or no, Dakota did. Yeah, we do. That's an awesome. We've got Guy plus Beard in the chat. That must be why the doctor always says, "Oh, it's just viral. Just have to let it take its course." Well, yeah, that's the other thing is whatever this is, no matter which way you cut it, whether it's viral, whether it's radiation, whether it's whatever, it does just have to run its course. Think about how long it took them to come up with quote unquote antiviral medication, and think about how poorly it works, and think about how often it harms people more than helps them, right? Similar to remdesivir. All these antivirals are really dangerous. And what's not that dangerous usually is just letting your body do it. What your body's doing, again, no matter how you look at it, whether you think viruses are real or it's radiation or it's whatever, your body is detoxing. It is releasing things that no longer serve it. It has got all this tissue and all these things that it needs to destroy and get rid of. So you're blowing your nose a lot, you're barfing, you're shitting, or whatever you're doing. And that's your body releasing all of this stuff, getting rid of it. You got to let it do that. When people are like, "Oh, I take this and this to stop all that," I'm like, "Why?" Even when I was a little fucking kid, I was like, "Why would you do that?" Seemed really obvious to me. Your body was doing what it needed to do. I get sometimes you're doing a little too much and the activity itself may kill you from dehydration or whatnot. So there's some cool, I get it. But in general, you want to let your body do that. So you do have to just let it run its course. Yo to Danny in the YouTube chat. Tina Bina says, my grandfather just had an abdominal aortic aneurysm last month that was 9 centimeters wide and had a blood clot in it. He was experimented upon 3 times before that. It is a miracle he survived, no doubt. God, I'm sorry. I'm not going to mention names, but a lot more and more people around me, some of them in a closer to the inner circle, and some of them I'm just hearing a lot more from people about the people they know who are experiencing blood clots, aneurysm, strokes, heart attacks, etc. I had someone tell me unironically that the reason hospitals were stressed out right now is because so many people had retired and moved away. And it just made me understand like how deep the denial is, right? Like that's what you're telling yourself. It was very much not hidden that like 30% to 50% to sometimes more of staff were forced out for not complying, right? That wasn't hidden, but now we're telling ourselves, oh, there's just a lot of people retired. Is it called retiring when you're forced out? Maybe it is in your book. But yeah. So Putin, Putin, who Putin, who I had a dream about the other night, bringing me cake. I was like, "Huh, thanks, Putin. It was very nice of you." It was very sweet of him. Um, he vows severe attacks after Russian missiles batter Ukraine. This is, of course, from the point of view that Russian is bad and anything that is done to Ukraine is evil, and nobody could ever do anything evil to Russian or Russia, but Russia does nothing but evil, right? It's very one-sided, very biased. Uh, but yeah, he is vowing to do more and to do worse, and apparently, allegedly, if things are to be believed, Russia has recently battered Kiev with a bunch of bombs. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'll show you something in a second that makes me, in addition to all the ways we've already covered that this could be literally completely fake, all of it. Many, many indications of that, that at least a lot of it is faked. That part is true. That much is true. How much isn't faked? How much are people actually caught up in some sort of real live fire battle? I don't know. But we very much have a lot of evidence that a lot of things have been faked over time for the whole time that we've been talking about Russia and Ukraine. But if any of it's to be believed, it would make sense. Ukraine has blown up a gas pipeline, very obviously so, even though people are pretending to be confused about who did it. And whenever we say Ukraine, you can just replace that with the US. That's also very obvious, even though some people are still pretending to be confused about it. So the US and Ukraine blew up this pipeline. They blew up the bridge. They've done these other things. They're joining NATO, right? Are they joined now officially, or are they just still talking about it? Either way, that's also a direct abrogation of their commitment agreement with Russia. So they've been provoking and stoking and doing whatever, if anything's to be believed. And so of course he would then retaliate. But again, I don't know if any of it's even real, like any of it, except the pipeline does seem to have actually been destroyed, and same with the bridge. That part's real. Some stuff is, but in addition, right, again, so, I mean, we're winning because we can see this, and we can take the bias out of it and see what's actually happening. We're winners. We can think clearly still. We've retained our ability to think clearly and to ask questions and to not pretend we know for sure. The most important part. Do we know for sure? Mm-mm. What do I know for sure? Not a lot. I know a few things about my soul, and that's basically it. So Russia has also added Meta, that's Facebook, to a list of terrorist and extremist organizations, along with Instagram. And you know what? They're not wrong. Again, I'm on Russia's side here. I'm not taking sides in any war, although I understand if anything that's been described is real, why Russia would be doing what it's doing. It makes a lot of sense to me. It doesn't seem aggressive at all. It seems highly provoked and et cetera, et cetera. But this, I think every country should add Meta and Instagram to a list of terrorist extremist organizations. Look at what they've done. We've seen that the government literally pays them to censor who they want, to promote certain algorithmic ideas so that they saturate the public eye. All of this it's so deceitful, it's so disgusting, and it is so fucking fascist. Literally the definition of fascist. Absolutely, literally the definition of. Not most of the other things that are called fascist in our day and age are actually fascist, but this is literal fascism. So yeah, and it is terrorist and it is extremist. They do use terror to try to control people. They terrorize people about Donald Trump, for example, for 4 years straight. Terror. These people went fucking insane with it. That's terrorism. And they're super extremist. They're super extremist. So I applaud you, Russia. Good job. Everyone should follow suit. And we are winning when more and more people see the terrorism inherent in the fascist system. So, on to this. The Department of Defense collaborates with industry and university on 6G research for AI and other controversial uses. I know many people, especially people who do coding or who work with AI, who will pretend that they know for sure what AI can and can't be. And again, anybody who thinks they know anything for sure is limiting themselves and has a little bit less intelligence in my book. To work with those things and to know that you know more than the average person about it, and then you have some good insight into it, and you very well might have some, closer to finalized ideas that are more likely to be true. Cool. But you pretend you know, you don't know. So a lot of people in that industry will say, like, well, AI will never be like what we call sentient or conscious. But those same people would tell me that about all kinds of shit that I know is, like trees and animals. So I don't really go for that sort of shit. You know how I feel about it. If there's going to be AI, it's actually already existed for a long time. Um, it is conscious and sentient in ways that we probably won't understand for a long time. And now they want to give it bigger tools and a bigger playground to work with. And I don't trust the AI. I think there has to be good AI, just like there has to be bad AI, just like there has to be good and bad anything. There's good and bad dogs, etc. Plants, I guess. Are there bad plants? Maybe plants are the one thing that can only be neutral to good. That'd be an interesting philosophical discussion to have. But I finally admitted there's going to be some good, but there's definitely going to be some bad. Like I've said many times, any sufficiently advanced organized system will begin to contain consciousness, and consciousness will come in the demonic and the angelic. So I don't think we should give it 6G. I think 5G is clearly bad enough. 5G already wreaks havoc on our radio waves, on our systems of communications. It's horrible for biological life. And they want to now move into 6G. And this 6G is not the same. So it's always so confusing. There's 5G, which is millimeter wave radiation. And there's 5G, which just means like the fifth generation of infrastructure. And they're both happening at the same time. And so that's even more confusing. When they're talking about 6G here, they're not talking about going down even further than the millimeter wavelength. They're talking about the sixth generation of infrastructure. So just, keep that in mind as best you can. But they're talking about um, making their end goal the interconnection of all these different, I guess, networks. Let's say networks, so that industry, university, governments will all be even more deeply interconnected. Will collaborate more. Um, Spectrum share more. So the whole spectrum of radiation can be used more widely by more people and interactively between all these different sectors of society, especially so that artificial intelligence can be more widely dispersed and have a wider view of the world, and therefore also a greater level of insight into humanity and maybe control of humanity. What we call AI currently already controls the vast majority of what we do. And I'm talking about, you know, I would guess that they even control the psyops and who publishes what, when, and what it says, and write articles and all sorts of things. But at the very least, they control banking, traffic, distribution, and stuff like that. That's old school. We've known that for over 10 years that AI controls all that. So who knows how much worse it is now in the ways that I just described. But they want to do this especially for interference mitigation. That means people like you and I, or other organizations, or other governments, or whoever cannot interfere with their systems as easily, and to do all kinds of other applications, especially the like logging and predicting of all of our data in the aggregate. That also is another reason. So they're moving more and more towards this. And this, in addition to what Biden released as his executive order, or whatever puppet is up his ass, right? Released as his executive order to look further into the merging of machine and biology. We're also now looking into this further expansiveness of AI's control of our entire world. So that's fun. That's coming from the Department of Defense. Again, I just know it's like electronics always fail. These devices always fail. Like a small EMP fucks up the whole system around it. We can be EMPs if we really wanted to be. We could train our system to do that, just like we can train our system to astral project and be psychic and do all these other things that they think we can't do. We also will always have the advantage that we're true divine sparks of light and have actual randomness and creativity at our disposal, which AI will never have, even in all of the texts, even in all of the places, these types of beings that I believe would inhabit an actual artificial network, artificial intelligence network, they all have been said all throughout history to not have free will, randomness, and creative choice, creative ability. They can't create, they can only mock and copy. So I do think we're still winning either way. That seems very daunting. And I think that's the point of it. It's meant to feel very scary and very overwhelming and very impossible to fight back against. And I just don't see it that way anymore. So I hope you're joining me more and more in that point of view, that that's exactly what our soul is for. And I think we exactly come more and more to the point where we're asked to rely on our soul and be in that space rather than in this material delusion. That's the matrix, right? When you believe this shit can control you or stop God. That's the matrix, the bad matrix. That's the metaverse. Don't go deeper into the metaverse, as we like to say here. So I meant to actually have this before, but speaking of how capable AI could be and all sorts of, um, electronic digital experiences can be way beyond perhaps what we might think. This is an interesting look at this documentary is showing how Zelensky was turned into a hologram, a high quality hologram at that. And I mentioned this on day 0 the other day, but I just want to show you this. You're not going to hear the audio, which doesn't matter because it's all oh wait, how did I do the audio the other day? They just showed me that. Fuck, I forgot. Well, if you can hear the audio, cool. It doesn't really matter though. They have Zelensky surrounded by cameras. They're showing how they've already got him in the system in 3D. And they're just talking about how they can and are creating this ability to hologram. Look at how real it looks, even there. This is a little older, but look at that's not him, but they have him standing there moving. They can make him bigger, smaller, turn him, etc. Uh, they also recorded holograms in solidarity. They're now showing celebrities who recorded themselves as holograms in solidarity with Zelensky. Why? They don't really get to why here. I'm sure if we watched the whole documentary or whatever this is, docu-short, maybe we would find out. But this is from a cool person I like to follow on Twitter. It's at 11, but 11 is ELEEVN. Eleven. And they post really awesome, esoteric, insightful, politically relevant stuff. And they comment aptly, I'm sure there's lots of really reasonable explanations for the creation of a next generation Zelensky hologram. Yeah, I'm sure there are too. I'm sure all of them have to do with psyops. And it makes me wonder how long it was after he made this high quality hologram that they killed him because they didn't need him anymore. I don't know. Maybe they kept him around, but they were also like, look, now we can make you do anything we want. So you're going to do whatever we want. But I think he already was doing whatever they wanted. But I mean, I genuinely, and I am nowhere near the camp of people who says like literally everything is fake, anything you see online, any TV show, well, obviously TV shows, but like news and whatever, all of it's literally fake, literally all of it, 100%. I'm nowhere near that camp. But I see things like this and I'm like, yeah, this could definitely mean that like literally everything we have seen from Zelensky is fake. All of it. Even the shit that occurred allegedly before we ever even heard of him, before I ever even heard of him, like he was on a show and he was like playing a piano with his dick because he was just a comedian in a bit show or whatever. Even that could be fake. If you have a hologram of someone, for sure, right? But I don't know, maybe that's real, maybe whatever, maybe he really was this actor and maybe that's really easily provable and whatnot. But you definitely can't convince me that all the shit that's happened since this has all broke out is real. I was pointing out on day 0, we've only seen him with celebrities. We've only seen him with actors. How is that not being an actor on a stage? He's already literally an actor, and then he's with other actors. Like, how is that not just like a movie? Maybe they even thought they were in a movie. I don't fucking know. They could literally say like, hey, Ben Stiller, we're going to hire you to play this part. And you're like, blah, blah. And then he records it. And later they're like, haha, we're going to pretend that's real. I don't know. I don't know how the fuck these fucks work. And maybe he's in on it the whole time. Maybe they don't even have to trick him. But there's that. And then whenever he's in person, it's with other actors. And then whenever he's not in person, whenever there's large crowds of people and many of them might not be super in on it or actors, it's a little bit less safe. They just have him show up on a screen. All of that could be faked. All of it could be holograms. All of it is bullshit. It's very interesting. So in case you missed it on day 0, which why are you missing day 0? Every Sunday at 3, you should be with us. It's awesome, hilarious. X Cubed, Charlie Robinson, and Corey Hughes are always so fun to hang out with. So I hope you're catching that. But this is it's still stunning to me. Even his name. Remember when we looked at his name and it's like the evil one reigns or something? It's fucked up, dude. So Nicholas Burnett says, I think spirits can speak through computers and technology. So absolutely robots and AI. Yeah, I'm with you. They've been speaking to me through computers and technology for many decades. So like, I know they can. Over in the YouTube chat, Chris Sean says, it's so disappointing to see Peter Gabriel there. I'm a huge fan and very influenced musically by him. That's a bummer. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm not sure where, because now that comment was probably like a while ago, but I like him too. I'm disappointed in him also. This is just an interesting thread I just wanted to point out. This is from someone called uh, Julia at JULIJA9J on Twitter if you want to follow her. She just says Circo, I think it's a her. Yeah, it is. Circo, the biggest company you've hardly ever heard of, literally runs the world. Churchill's grandson is CEO of Serco. Churchill was well-known Freemason. Churchill, of course, is an evil fuck. Super fucking interesting thread here. Oh, we don't need that. So she just, I don't know. I haven't looked into this at all, but I just thought it was fascinating. She's seeming to do a lot of research on this, but apparently Serco is this big organization. I've never heard of them. But it's just like every other shell game where they just own all these different aspects, especially of energy, always energy, war, and the like. So they have stuff in the US and Australia and the Middle East and UK and more. I don't know. They're probably not bigger than BlackRock, than Evergreen, Blackstone, some of these nefarious, giant, world spanning octopus organizations. But I just wanted to throw them out there because it's yet another one that I hadn't heard of. And I'm sure they're just as awful. They've got to have as many as they can, right? They have a lot of money to launder and move around and a lot of things to control. So just more for the AI to play with, right? Ugh. This was interesting too. I just wanted to show you guys this. This is allegedly a farmer filming a drone literally spraying something on his crops without his knowledge or permission. So that's fucking crazy. And I don't know why they would do this in the daylight. I don't know why they would allow that to even be possibly seen by anyone. But you can see there is a drone and it is spraying something. And I'm sure it's not good. If you're going to surreptitiously send a drone in to spray crops, pretty sure it's going to be fucking poison of some kind. So you just have to think, like, if this is real, if this isn't just a farmer who has his own drone and figured out how to put like a water bottle on it to spray some shit, or, it could be faked for sure. And if it is real, here's the closest view we're going to get. It seems like a pretty high level drone. It had many different copters on it. And if it is real, you have to think then that this has been happening for a while. You have to think that it's been happening to many crops. You have to be thinking that it's been happening at night when less people are likely to see them. You have to wonder those things. And then you have to wonder, and we've always said this, again, because we're winners here. We know things. We look into things. We think critically about things. So we know when they say something's organic, it very likely could be not organic. And here's like another way why. So reason 10 billion to continue to grow your own food. More and more self-sustainable, have chickens, have rabbits, know how to process them, know how to store food, and just keep doing that. This is from Kanekoa News on Substack. It's kanekoa.substack.com. By the way, follow me on Substack, rogueways.substack.com. Subscribe and get all kinds of channeled messages. You can also get them at rogue.locals.com by joining the community there. Anything I publish on Substack will also be on Locals. Either one is a great place to interact, to share, and to read the stuff that I write. That's just for supporters. So FBI conceals Chinese infiltration of US election software. If this wasn't obvious before, if it wasn't obvious for some reason, it's becoming more obvious that literally communist China, who hates us, is in control of our country. And I get it. At the biggest level, who cares about countries? But at this, very real level still, that we all live in, where countries do still matter, and we do perhaps have some chance of reclaiming our sovereignty as an actual nation. It does matter. It is important, and China does hate us, and China has said that they want to take us down, and so the FBI is in on it. The CIA is clearly in on it already. The FBI had some hope that maybe they had some patriotism still or something that would keep their own people safe, but no. So, these people, Catherine Engelbrecht, Greg Phillips, truththevote.locals.com is their community on Locals if you want to join them. They discussed their 15-month involvement with what was characterized to them as counterintelligence operation with the Federal Bureau of Investigation into American election company called Konech Inc. Konnech Inc. Konech, based out, I might be saying that wrong. I don't know. I never know. Based out of Michigan, they build software to manage the poll workers, poll locations, campaigns, assets, and supplies necessary to run elections in the United States, Canada, and Australia. There's 3 of the 5 eyes. I bet you some other like shell game company of Konech extension is in the other 2 5 eyes, you know? So in January, Phillips said the cyber analysts had been working with encountered an oddity in some of the URLs. And that some of these software applications were used to gather personally identifying information about poll workers. They began to look where the URLs resolved to, found that most of them resolved to one IP address, and that IP address, the URL, resolved in China. All of it resolved in China. So China actually was in control of, or at least gathering information on all of these things. So they could just see very easily that it was China. And they have a bunch of the evidence posted here, so you can look into it if you want to and verify it for yourself. They took this to the FBI, and the FBI said the information was forwarded to their counterintelligence operation. And so they opened an investigation in 2021, February. They helped the FBI. They engaged with them. They communicated with them. They were sharing information for about 15 months. They knew that it was actually the FBI. They felt like they were actually looking into it. They really did believe, the people they were working with really did believe that this software posed a national security risk to the USA. They always were focusing on removing the software. That's good to hear. So maybe the FBI was, maybe it's not completely infiltrated by foreign adversaries and their spycraft, but we'll see. It sounds like it changes. The FBI also indicated that they had already had some insight into this and that there was lots of problems connected to this, including banking issues. Then they got the DC headquarters involved in April of 2022, and everything changed. Oh, okay. So the belly of the beast got involved, and then everything changed. There was no more goodwill, no more working together. And then they targeted them. So these Engelbrecht and Phillips got targeted by this centralized FBI. So now they know all about it and have chosen to do nothing. There's the quote, "These are Chinese operatives in the United States. These are Chinese citizens who are programming this." We just learned too, the Chinese now have their own police station and their own jurisdictions. Like, shit is fucking crazier than people know because nobody talks about it. Because the media doesn't talk about it. The news doesn't talk about it. So if you take, I've been screaming about China literally since I was like 16 years old. I swear to God, I came into this world with a few things: that I hated robots and AI, and that China was the biggest danger that we face. So like, I don't know where those things come from. I haven't seen a past life yet that should have given me those things. I just think it's part of my soul mission to just know. But if you go screaming about this to anyone, like, they don't care. They just think you're racist. They tell you you're racist, and they just discount it. But it seems pretty obvious to me what's happening. So, these people felt like it was a complete and total failure of our intelligence operatives, and I think no, actually, they did their job. Their whole job is to intercept anything and to like not make stuff happen if it's going to expose what the globalists, if you want to call them that, want to happen, which is for the U.S. to become demoralized and no longer a strong nationalist country or a set of interests. So, awesomely, whoever these people are, Engelbrecht and Phillips, sorry that I don't know, they brought together 200 researchers, independent journalists, and big thinkers to share this story, which is very smart. There's still a lot of people out there, especially at the lower, again, the local level, who want to think and do stuff. So it's a really smart thing to do. And they got them all in on it. And this is also really smart because, like they said, we didn't know, quote, we didn't know what the FBI's plans were for us. So they said we didn't know if we didn't speak this publicly, if we would ever have the chance to, but we felt like our best chance was to share this with people we trusted and who had the wherewithal to get the word out. I wonder if Tucker Carlson has found this yet. I know a lot of people, he's Mockingbird, sure, whatever, but he actually talks about China. So he would like this story. It's one of the few things he seems to be allowed to talk about for whatever reason. So it's also just smart, like, I don't know if they went there at their minds, but, like, if they were on a kill list, the more public you are, the less likely you are to be killed, because they don't really wanna have to deal with that cover up. I know they'll do it anyway if they have to. They feel like they have to, but, not as if you're very public. So it's an interesting story. It's more evidence that China is more and more involved in controlling our nation, and it's also more and more evidence of how corrupt at the highest levels all of our quote unquote intelligence agencies are. But again, we're winning when we know, and we're winning when we tell people about it. We're winning the more other people know. We're winning the more we get the word out. So this is a really well written article. You can support this person if you would like to. Kanakawa News on Substack, and also just get the story out as much as you feel like sharing. I'll just share this in the chat right now in case you want to. In case you want to look into it yourself, share it with others, or whatever else. Good evening, Travis. Good evening. Good evening. Where are we here? All right, we'll move on now to just how much the cartels have profited because of the seemingly open border we have now on the southern border. Cartels have been raking in the dough. So even if you didn't care, even if you're like, borders shouldn't matter, man, like peace and love. I used to be there too until I realized that like reality actually exists and it's not cool to just let smugglers bring children and drugs and other things across the border, which is what mostly happens. And I don't blame them. This is a pretty rad place to live. I'd want to come here too. But you know, it'd be better to do it more safely for everyone. And the border, it does actually exist still, and until we have a very different world, it needs to exist for the reasons just stated. So, but whatever side you're on, you could at least see how it's negative for cartels. Mexican cartels' income from smuggling illegal migrants, whatever, into America from 500 million in 2018 to 13 billion. That's 2,500% increase in profits. How do we know what illegal organizations make? I don't know. But apparently we do. And apparently that's huge. 2,500%? 100% is huge. That means double. 2,500%. Billion, 13 billion with a B. It's tripping me the fuck out. And I promise you, a bunch of blue-haired people are like, good, good. Well, do you know what fucking cartels do? Yeah, they like murder whoever the fuck they want and they do whatever the fuck they want. They make children into criminals by like having them do horrifying things and traumatizing the shit on them. They run off crime. Like, I get it. Drugs should be legal. Who cares? This shit's fucked up though. Good God. Ugh. Good. I'm glad they make that money. They deserve it. Like, I swear to God, there's people that stupid in the world. So this is disgusting. This is just one more negative impact of having just wide open borders where no one gives a shit. Speaking of Biden, I think we're winning when shit like this happens. Biden admin requires trans women to register for the draft if they were born male. Again, I talked about this on day 0. You're missing out if you're not seeing day 0 on Sundays, but I just think it's hilarious. You can do all the talking you want about how much you love trans people and you celebrate them and la la la, and like women are women just because they say so, and like anyone should be able to be in any sport they want just because they feel like it. All those things you can pretend all you want, but in the end, you are the most bigoted and you are the least fucking, you have no intrinsic fucking coherence. None. You're like, yeah, trans and stuff, but like, if you were born with a dick, you have to be in the military. You're like, well, is that not fucking anti-trans? How is it not? You fucking hypocrite. You fucking hypocrite. So, no matter how you identify, if you were born with a penis, it matters to him. And he wants you in the army. The end. That's the end of the story. That's an executive order. So if you're trans, you have to be treated by the military as whatever you identify as, but you still have to be in the draft if you have a penis. It's like, okay, then like you care about sex, and sex is a scientific thing that matters to you. And you can't pretend anymore that it isn't, but they will, and no one will care. And that'll be sad. But we're winning when this shit happens because you can point to it and it's very simple, and you can just show people like, how is this any different from what the fuck we've been saying the whole time, and what you've been pretending? The opposite of what you pretend. How is it not? That's a win. Will they look? We'll see. Probably not. So the U.S. congressman has introduced gold standard bill as inflation spirals out of control. That's a huge win. If we went back to the gold standard, it'd be amazing if our money actually meant something. I love when people are like, well, Bitcoin's just a pretend currency. Well, so is the money you've been using your whole life. There's literally nothing behind it, and it means nothing. It's just an agreement we made. It's a pretend agreement we made. But when we had the gold standard, there was less pretend. We said, okay, well, at least this equals this much in gold. There's the value of it. Now we don't know. We haven't known for a long time, ever since they took the gold standard away. But we want the Gold Standard Restoration Act to come back. This was introduced just recently by Representative Mooney. And, my assumption is that he'll either be killed or this will not pass. They'll find a way. Or if it is passed, they'll just make it be in courts forever and ever until people forget, and it still won't matter. Because they can't have the gold standard. If they had the gold standard, they couldn't do any of the shit they're doing. They couldn't have printed billions of dollars. We wouldn't be in an economic recession right now. We wouldn't be able to send all this money to Ukraine. We wouldn't be able to pull off this war as a proxy war. None of that would happen. It'd be way too good for us. So they can't let that happen. But if it did, what a beautiful thing it would be. I'm all for it. Let's support that guy. It's so smart. I don't know why any populace who's even reasonably educated, which ours isn't, but if it were, would recognize this as a huge benefit to the entire society and would be fantastically behind any person who committed to doing it. All politicians should just do this, and then everyone would be happy if they were smart. It'd be a huge, huge win. So let's hope that that goes through despite the obvious impediments to it. But unfortunately, the Federal Reserve has announced that 6 large banks have participated or will participate in a pilot climate scenario or social credit system. So this is that ESG, the environmental, social governance stuff that we keep hearing so much about from our friends Klaus Schwab and that psycho Noah, whatever, and all their little friends and their little villain lair. All that stuff. These 6 large banks are going to do it. They're going to go for it. They're going to check it out. They're going to test it. We already saw MasterCard rolling it out in some ways. We already saw some of these banks starting to do it, but this is like an official alliance of many of these large banks that are going to just pave the way for this to roll out even more deeply and more effectively. And that's never going to be good for us. But what is good for us is seeing it coming, knowing what it is, telling people about it, and never, ever, ever joining it, never going along with it. Don't get implanted with anything, and don't agree to participate in any way in this climate change, social credit bullshit. Japan, however, is pushing this through. Japan is pushing through biometric My Number digital IDs to include health insurance cards, driver's licenses, and more by 2025. That's very soon. And who knows? Everything seems to be resting on 2024 and 2025, which are swiftly rolling our ways. That's both when people say the economy will crash, the greatest number of dead will have died. We will have lost the population we're losing right now and in the progress of watching die. So we'll have these huge losses, if that's to be believed. And it's all going to happen around then. So what? I don't know. Maybe that'll make it even easier for them to do this, right? If people are just in a state of absolute trauma and grief and they never saw any of this coming, maybe it'll just be really easy. But I see people resisting shit like this. I see people waking up every step they take, and every time they push, people are like, wait, what the fuck do you want to do? You want to put all my information in one number and then like have it like attached to me physically somehow? No thanks. I've had my phone malfunction enough times to know better. So who knows? But Japan is the perfect place to do it. They have that society that is very already likely to adopt technology as innovative and helpful, and also very likely to be supportive of their social and governmental and political leadership. Right. So it's a good place to test it, unfortunately. This was helpful. We talked about this on day 0 as well. Danielle Smith is the new PM in Alberta. Is that right? Yeah. So Alberta, up in Canada, that territory has this new PM, and she called the unvaccinated the most discriminated against group she's seen in her lifetime. Well, she's already walking that back a little bit. She says, because she has to, because she's a politician, I guess. So the cancel culture came for her. 'Cause how dare you? How dare you say unvaccinated are more discriminated against than fill in the blank, whatever your favorite victim group is? Native Americans, trans, women, like whatever. It could be anything, it could be whatever you want. That's why it's great to be a victim. You can do anything you want. And so she said, I did not intend to trivialize in any way the discrimination faced by minority communities and other persecuted groups. Oh, isn't that nice? She didn't mean to trivialize them. So I already lost some respect for her. I mean, that's true. I guess she didn't mean to trivialize them. So at least she didn't change her mind and say like it wasn't true that the vaccinated were the most discriminated against. She's absolutely right. Like, you're gonna use your job, we're gonna take your kids from you, you can't go to school, you can't buy food in public. Like, we've never done that to any other group before. Fuck. So she's not wrong, but she has walked it back a little bit. She didn't mean to create any false equivalencies to the terrible historical discrimination and persecution suffered by so many minority groups. So yeah. Some other people in other parties were asked about her comment, and of course they were like, yeah, she's a bitch, fuck her. Because why wouldn't they be? And of course they justify all of the stuff done in the name of COVID. Like, well, we've never faced a crisis like this. Like, no, bitch, we faced nothing but crises that were actually worse than this because they were real. But anyways, it is interesting too. So some people have said, well, Danielle Smith is WEF and she's whatever and blah, blah, blah. And so I don't know. Maybe she is. I haven't looked into any actual, like, I don't know where they keep their registries of politicians. And I'm not one of the people who researches those things. So I trust those who do. And I haven't seen anything from them yet directly tying her to any of this. But she was asked, Danielle, how do you feel about the WEF? This is her actual Twitter. And she says the WEF, and she tags them, the WEF and Professor Klaus Schwab want you to own nothing and be happy, she says. They want to destroy our economy with carbon taxes. They support people like Justin Trudeau and Rachel Notley. It's the very reason Alberta needs a sovereignty act. Line in the sand has been drawn. So that's pretty strong language against the WEF and Klaus Schwab. That doesn't mean she's not like a young global leader and groomed and playing some specific role as the person who's against these things, especially if they're going to make her out to be like a clown in however many other ways, or just, disparage her in some way that then makes people be like, see, people like that or like this. That could very well be her role. But it is interesting, at least for now, that she has come out in support, or rather against the discrimination against unvaccinated, and that she's so clearly seemingly against the goals of the WEF, Klaus Schwab, Justin Trudeau, and other commies. Pretty cool. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what unfolds with her. MP, right? Only 1 p.m. Okay, yeah. Sorry, Illuminati is right. She's the MP and not the PM. My bad. My bad, officers of the state. Moving at the speed of science. I love that. I'm like, if by the speed of science you mean glacial pace because we're never hasty and we don't draw conclusions almost ever, and that it takes us forever even to call something a theory, like the theory of gravity. It took forever to call it a theory, even. It has to has all of this data information over many years replicated by so many people and blah blah blah. And then it's finally a theory and we have almost no laws. If you mean by that the speed of science, yes, I'm with you. If you mean instead that you had to be hasty, jump to conclusions, fake data, and whatnot, you're definitely not even talking about science. So that's in Canada, of course. Moving back to the US, although this is a global issue, the geofence warrants. And the geofence warrants basically are when the cops and whoever else can go in and say, you know what, we want all the data from any device in this area. So we want all the ring footage, cameras on doorsteps, and we want whatever other random cameras and all of it. We want all of it. And the warrants they've been able to get for those are pretty disturbing because they can then just gather other people's private information. And they don't generally then have to like justify it very well. And they don't have to go back for each thing that they want to access and have a warrant for. So they're very broad, far-reaching, and lacking in accountability, these geofence warrants. And we have yet another case, which is a huge win, where the court has sided against law enforcement and on behalf of people's privacy and said that they're not going to grant these geofence warrants. So I'm sure some people think that's bad because we're not going to catch as many criminals if we can't use like every piece of whatever. But I think it's good because, of course, because I like privacy and I don't like the police state to have even more ability to grab whoever they want, especially knowing that what they would love to do is criminalize more and more very normal behavior, such as resisting tyranny, especially for that reason. And speaking of resisting tyranny in Turkey, it's harder and harder to do so now. Parliament has adopted a media law jailing those spreading disinformation. I think it said in here that you could get up to 3 years. And Erdogan's a fucking nightmare. And you may know about me that I lived in Turkey for a year. And while that's not that long, I learned a lot about Turkey in that year that I lived in Istanbul. And Erdogan is a fucking nightmare. And most people there know it. He's a lot like Biden in that, like, they chose him, they propped him up, and they just keep faking the elections. And for a little while, they tried to, I think, fake them even better by actually getting people to vote for him. And then, you know, the Arab Spring came and the fucking Turkish government just cracked the fuck down. It was actually very disturbing to see. And they just didn't give a shit about people or rights at all anymore. And now I don't think they care about elections either. And he's just basically a dictator now. He just has been in power for a very long time. And he probably will be until he dies. The old fuck. But I remember in Eastern Turkey, they were like, oh, yeah, we don't even care. Well, we don't even think it affects us, like who's the president or whatever. But they did give us like a refrigerator to vote for him. And like Eastern Turkey, like you need a refrigerator. Like people are very poor. So I understand it. But anyways, the corruption there is rampant. Erdogan's a piece of shit. And now he's made this disinformation law. And at least we can see it happening and we can say, you know, Turkey considers itself a modern country. They want to join the EU. They're very they see themselves that way, you know, but when they act like this, that's not what we see. But then we also see, like, I mean, if they can do it there, perhaps they can do it anywhere. So any false or misleading information, and again, they always leave these things very vague, right? To create fear and disturb public order. Well, that could be anything. That could be anything the government decides is that. They don't need any approval. They can just decide it and they can just grab you and they can just throw you in jail. So Turkey's becoming more and more draconian and totalitarian. And that's really sad to see anywhere in the world, but for me at least, especially there and somewhere that wants to be considered westernized and modern and just like us or whatever. So that's sad. I don't know why this site is showing up like this, but further on the line of dystopian totalitarian societies in the US, which is supposedly modern and secular and open-minded and full of freedoms, has recently had this probably sham trial, probably full of nothing but literal actors, where Alex Jones was ordered to pay $965 million for his Sandy Hook lies. First of all, I don't think he ever lied. I don't think it's fair to call it a lie. It's all opinions. His opinion is that people didn't die there or whatever. That's not a lie. And $1 billion? Like, what the fuck? Who thinks that's rational? And a bunch of people, I just did a poll for whatever it's worth on this stupid social media app I'm on called Stimulus. You can do polls, and I asked people, like, what about the Alex Jones trial? Is it fair? Is it a fucking dangerous precedent, or do you not even know what it is? And a couple people didn't even know what I was talking about, but it was split otherwise between people who thought it was fair and people who thought it was dangerous, which is scary to me. Again, about 6 years ago or so, I couldn't have found more than a very tiny, tiny percentage of people who thought censorship was ever okay politically. Again, if you don't understand what we mean when we talk about censorship, we're talking about political speech, protected free speech. I wouldn't have found more than a few people. Now it seems like a third of people are like, yeah, censor whoever we want because we said so, because it hurts our feelings or makes us angry to hear things that we don't like. And I'm like, dude, you guys are insane. Like, there is literally nothing stopping whatever the system is from then deciding your speech is the one that's offensive. No matter what you think your side you're on. It's like those white guys during BLM who were like having the fucking bricks thrown in their windows and they're recording it and they're yelling, we're on your side, bro. We're on your side. Like, it doesn't fucking matter what side you think you're on. The fucking power structure and the mob will come for you. Duh. I think this should all have been obvious to us when we were like 5 years old, but it's not apparently. So again, Alex Jones has most likely been owned and operated by the controllers for a very long time. I don't think this is a real lawsuit, as in, I just don't think, but it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if he was hired to play this role and this is all fake, or if it is real, because it has the same effect on the mass mind. And that's their point. It's a psyop or it's real. And either way, it's affecting people the same, where people are conditioned more and more to accept that censorship is not only okay, but that you could be punished for saying the wrong thing, right? And that it's acceptable to do that, and that it's celebrated even, and that especially because you've decided it's dangerous or bad, or those poor parents had already been through enough, it doesn't matter what your excuse is. You're saying the same thing. Speech should not only be censored, but you can also be punished for it monetarily and perhaps with jail time, like Turkey is saying. And so because of that, again, whether this is real or not, whether this case is real or not, as in whether it was a false flag or not, for optics or not, whether the people in it were genuine or not, now we're going to have more and more of this, where now we see, this is from the Daily Wire, that mother of George Floyd's daughter, the mother of George Floyd's daughter, the baby mama, announces a $250 million lawsuit against Kanye West, which I apparently we're supposed to call him Ye West or Ye West, I don't know, whatever. Yeezy says that George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose, and now he's being sued for that because Alex Jones just set the precedent. And this one could also be fake. Kanye could also be a hired actor. These people are clearly somehow have to be on it. The whole George Floyd debacle, which is also a false flag. And so this could also be another one back to back. It has more impact, right? They're probably going to win. He's going to have to give them a bunch of money. But again, whether or not these are real, what's going to happen from now on is that regular people will start tying up the courts by suing people like myself, perhaps, or you, or anyone else who says anything that they think has caused damages because it's a lie. Even though it's my absolute right to point out every single thing I've ever pointed out in my life. It's my absolute right to say these things. So that will just, again, whether it's real or not, people will start believing in it. They'll start acting in accordance with it. They've accepted it. They've been conditioned to accept it as true. And now, whether you think it will or not, it will have a stifling effect, not on me, but on a lot of people who have maybe a little bit less balls or integrity than me. They'll be like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to be sued. So I'm just not going to say things that go against the narrative. So it's very silencing, and it's intentionally silencing. It's created to be silencing. And that's why I believe that they are false flags more likely than not. I don't think a real court would have convicted him. There's nothing to actually convict him upon. He didn't break any laws. And neither did Kanye, but they may pretend he did and have this anyway, have this fine anyway. So most recently, also, Kanye's been in the news because he said something allegedly anti-Semitic. He accused rapper Diddy of being controlled by Jewish people. And this supposed journalist says the message played into a long-standing anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. And I don't think it did. I think he's literally saying the people who make money off of you are Jewish, which is just a fact. It's just true. I mean, that's who owns his label and tells him what to do. Like he's so it's just a fact. So anyway, you're not allowed to mention Jewish people at all, I guess. You can't point out who owns your label or something, or I don't know how anyone pretends there's anything anti-Semitic about that. You're allowed to criticize Jewish people. You're allowed to criticize anyone you fucking want to. What the fuck? How fucking stupid is everybody? Like, everybody's fucking dumb. I just get to this point where I'm like, how is this? How am I even reading this like it's news? How is this even an article? Why is everyone so retarded? Fluoride is the answer. Fluoride and years in the education system. So I don't know. Everyone's like, Kanye West went past the line. And he said da da because he mentioned Jewish people and like what some of them might own. It's fucking crazy. So he's been canceled for that. Again, probably part of a larger psyop, again, to whatever you want to call it, a larger push to get people more aware of anti-Semitism and to be more sensitive towards not being anti-Semitic. It's just another way to do this bullshit. But also to present this new trend. Whether or not you ever go along with the ESG stuff or the CBDC stuff or this like centralized banking conglomeration of your digital identity locked in and controlling every aspect of your life, banks will just more and more play the social arbiter, the political arbiter, the free speech, censors. So this is from Candace Owens, a tweet earlier today. I learned that Kanye West was officially kicked out of JP Morgan Chase Bank. There's no official reason given. But they did tell him he has a month basically to get his money out of their system. Again, there's no logical reason for this. There's only social programming behind this. Obviously, JP Morgan Chase Bank has long been part of that which shapes our entire world and society. That's their whole role. They're bankers. That's their job. But this is more blatant than usual. Just like we saw with the truckers thing where they were like, we're going to freeze your accounts and we're going to take your money. And like with PayPal saying, we're going to fine you for this. We just have this ongoing conditioning to be used to the idea that the government doesn't have to do it. Law enforcement doesn't have to do it because these companies will just do it. Again, what do we call that? We call that fascism. This is actual fascism. It's one of the most dangerous stages to be in, especially because people are celebrating it, not because they understand the danger they're in, but because they think they agree with the sentiment, because they don't want to be mean to Jewish people, and they don't want to be mean to parents of children who are murdered, and they don't want to be mean, they just want the bad things to go away. So they just go along with it. But this is fucking fascism. And again, no matter where you think, I'm on your side, bro, like, well, you're next. And the brick is coming to smash your window and you're faced with it. And there goes all your fucking money because you didn't do what you were told fast enough. Or because they just felt like it. Like in China, they didn't even give a reason. They're just like, yeah, we have all your money now. And people were like, why? And they're like, because we wanted to. What? Okay, I get, because once you've lost control, there it went. Now you don't have it anymore. So just like we had a massive exodus to PayPal, if anyone's left with this horrifying bank. Please take your money out of it. Find a local credit union and be a part of that instead. Way better for you, way better for the world. That's how we win is we take our money and our energy and we put it into local, decentralized things. But in another huge win, Sweden now has this new incoming cabinet in their political sector, and they say that new reactors will be built. So they're going to build nuclear reactors. Look at the number 444. That's my number. Alex, I'd love for you to do some numerical analysis of this. I don't think it's false. I don't think it's part of the matrix, as Alex would say, our resident numerologist. I think this is just actually a real thing that's happening, and it's very exciting because nuclear energy is the only truly clean energy that we seem to have access to. And in these times of intentional fuel disabling, this is a good thing. So I'm excited for that. We'll see if they get away with it and continue building these nuclear reactors. I hope so. Oh, I thought we were going to talk about more nuclear news, but I guess we'll just mention. I still am shocked. This is actually 250 scientists are still warning the public about wireless earbuds due to cancer, neurological, and other health risks. I still see people using these, and I just actually wanted to use this moment, use this article to remind any of you out there, don't use wireless earbuds. Please, they're really bad for you. The kind that sit around your neck, the kind that just sit in your ears and don't have anything unwired is radiation you don't need. You don't need any more radiation. You have plenty of radiation. All of it is damaging to you, whether you think so or not. And it'd be better to reduce it more and more. And it's really easy to just have wires. So just get some wired headphones, please, and use them. There's nothing but evidence that this is horrifying for you. So please don't use it. Please don't hold phones to your head. Please use wireless. Please use speakerphone. I'm sorry, wired earphones, speakerphone, and other things that keep less and less radiation from you. Keep more and more radiation from you. Keep whatever the right way to say that is. That's the way I meant to say it. Illuminati sharing a tweet from Pisaki. She said, "The damage Alex Jones has done to the lives of these families is horrific. Nearly $1 billion doesn't solve their pain, but also true that the end of InfoWars would be a public service." She wishes. He's not going to stop InfoWars. Why would he have to do that? It has nothing to do with whether he pays $1 billion or not. So, this is stupid. This is from SciTech Daily, and they say diets high in processed fiber may increase a cancer risk. I agree. I actually didn't see cancer on the radar at all until I read some of the medical medium's material, pointing out that sometimes fiber actually irritates more than it helps, and that fiber isn't actually as much the component and whether or not you are pooping regularly as you think it might be. Fiber may not be the thing that you need in order to continue to have bowel movements regularly and easily. And it may be, in fact, irritating things that cause inflammation and cause your system more stress and therefore make anything else going in your system like more likely to be hazardous, right? And harder for you to cleanse, etc. So you're putting undue stress on the system for no reason, perhaps by having too much fiber, or especially in this case, processed fiber. Processed fiber. So a lot of things that we just add to stuff, like when you see yogurt that's high fiber, that has processed fiber in it. Yogurt shouldn't be high fiber. Yogurt is just dairy, which has no fiber in it. So especially those types are saying might increase the risk of cancer. The reason I want to point this out is because we have a lot of food beliefs that are based from the globalists and or whatever you want to call the psychopathic controllers who want us to die. They want us to be sick and die. And so a lot of our food beliefs are still based in a lot of their messaging. And so fiber got on my radar from him, but this highlighted it again that, like, I'm not saying fiber's bad, especially natural fibers that are naturally occurring in your diet and you're having a normal amount of them. But especially if you're like, I've done it. I've done the high fiber diet before. I don't know if you have, where you can only eat things that are like 20%. I don't remember. It's something fucking ridiculous. It's like super high fiber foods is like all you eat for a while. You'll lose some weight. There might be some good clearing out happening there. A colonic is better though. It's safer and it doesn't have this cancer risk. So it's just interesting to think about. Question your food beliefs. Question your food beliefs. Try to use some actual research. And what's really cool, in addition to, and definitely don't have processed fiber. Like have like real fibers from fruits and vegetables. Don't be like adding fiber to your diet in these highly processed ways. We know already that that's not very likely to be as helpful as real fiber. So at least take that away from this. But also, you know, speaking of these studies, there can be so many studies, they can all like kind of disagree with each other. And then you have to look into like, how did they actually do it? How many people and how many variables did they control for? And all of these things matter. So we see all these studies and you might not know like what the fuck to think. Well, this person did a smart thing. We call this a literature review or a meta-analysis of studies. And this is a top statistician who did this. And he says he started eating more red meat after crunching the numbers on cancer and heart health risks. And again, if you've been in the sort of alternative community and you've been questioning your food beliefs for a while, you may have already come to this conclusion that red meat isn't the evil that we were told it was for most of our lives. But this is saying that it's basically proven. When you look at all the studies together, there's a lot of them that you can push to the side because they didn't have enough people, their methodologies were wrong, their statistical analyses were incorrect or otherwise. And you take the ones that actually seem more solid and you put them all together as though they were one massive study. It actually seems to show that red meat isn't harmful to your heart health, your circulation, or other things. So this scientist specifically had not been eating red meat at all and then went looking, which is so cool. Like if you can be so deep in your food belief that you didn't even have any red meat and then you go like, well, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, and you go looking like, fuck yeah, that's how every scientist should be. Shouldn't matter what you believe. You should look at the actual data. And it seemed to show that there wasn't actually a risk. In fact, there's some benefits that you only get from red meat, and perhaps you can eat some of it safely. So that's cool. I just liked the message, the lesson, I should say, of this person and their findings. Whether we believe it or not is up to us, but I just, at least we can be more and more like this, where we question the thing and we look for actual information. That's what science should be. This is just cool to see. This is another huge win that world leaders in general, especially in green energy leadership, are returning to fossil fuels. And some of them even say, and I quote, the experiment has been disastrous. So, all the things we've been talking about, where wind farms are not as cool as they seem, are actually hugely wasteful, especially of fossil fuels, where they take all this energy to keep them going, to keep them clean, to keep replacing them. All of the solar panels are often the same, and all of these things, that a lot of that is actually way more wasteful, way more hazardous, and doesn't actually produce enough. And so we need to actually stick with fossil fuels and nuclear energies, perhaps at least for now. It's just heartening to hear that some people are realizing that. Maybe soon, someday, we won't have to scream it as often or as loudly. So, yay for us. Perhaps this will grow in sentiment more and more, and we will start heading back towards having energy solubility at least. We did mention this already as well on day 0, but just in case you missed it, Sweden has refused to share the Nord Stream data attack and has opted out of a joint EU investigation. This is from a little while ago, just 2 days ago, actually, but I heard something today which made me think maybe they changed their mind, or maybe they CGI'd the video enough to like start releasing some things because they've been doctored enough at this point. I don't really know. But, it raises nothing but questions when things like this happen. We're like, "Wait, so this international event happens, but, like, no one's allowed to know about it, help you with the research or the investigation at all," and yeah, totally legit, totally legit. Um, Still saying that the US did that. I think that's obvious, but I think we're winning when we can point more and more to their behavior and go, "Come on, like, is this not questionable?" Pretty questionable, highly questionable, one might say. I think Alex is right in the chat where he says, translation is world leaders are terrified that hungry and cold population will skin them alive. That would be exciting times to live through. I hope I hope we don't have to find it. We'll just have enough energy, we won't have to care, but for sure. Uh I love it. Luminami says, watch the Mr. Show bit on experts from the mid 90s if you've never seen it. I probably have because Johnny has me watch really good, high quality things like that I missed because I'm a pop culturally inept person or something. But I don't remember it, but I bet he does. So this is from The Guardian. BBC prepares secret scripts for possible use in winter blackouts. It's not really like so secret. Like it's very common for places like the BBC and other places to have scripts ready for things they expect to happen, especially if the AI is running things as we think it might be, then there would be very easy to have multiple scripts ready for any outcome actually with like the right spin and twist and interpretation and bias in it so that the agenda gets accomplished either way. That's something we know happens. But I guess it's just more evidence for those who weren't aware of where the world was being engineered towards and geared towards, that they're planning these winter blackouts. It's likely to be an especially cold winter in many places and an especially dry winter in many places, which is going to be interesting. I was almost wondering if they're going to do, like the false flag of winter fires. Like now we have so much global climate change that even winter is fire season, because that would make them really happy to see people writhe in that madness. But they're at least very ready to tell you what you should feel and think about the blackouts that they have planned for you. Hopefully, here we don't have to do that. It seems like there's some hope actually too, and that we might be winning, and that people in Europe don't have to deal with it as much either. Even Greta Thunberg. I am now calling her old man Thunberg because does she not just look like an old man here? Does she not just look like an old white man in a beanie and a coat? I don't know. Maybe if she took the beanie off, she wouldn't, but she looks like an old man to me. And she gave 2 interviews in Germany, and she speaks out against the shutdown of the remaining German nuclear power plants. So that, I don't know, it just shocked me. I know she's their pawn. I know she does what she's told and says what she's told. So then it just makes me wonder why? Why is she coming out in support of nuclear power plants? I don't know. But again, on the side of keeping people warm and with energy, that's a good thing. So I am weirdly agreeing with old man Greta Thunberg now. And also, it seems to have worked because Germany has decided now that it will, in fact, keep its 3 remaining nuclear power plants online at least through April 2023. That's not that much longer, but it's a start. And I really think this is the type of win that highlights that when enough of us, even though we are so suppressed, so silenced, I mean, you can even see right now, I have 28 of you, it says on Rockfin. I don't know if it's gotten up higher than that or not throughout the show, but that's a decent number of people watching live on YouTube, where I should have vastly more reach than tiny Rockfin. I've only had 12. I often have more. I often have like higher on YouTube than Rockfin. But lately I've been noticing they're doing this thing again where they seem to be like not showing people that I'm live, or not letting them find it, or not letting them click on it. Whereas Rockfin doesn't pull shit like that. So, again, on Rockfin, I have over 10,000 supporters from a not very large overall number that it could be. Whereas on YouTube, where there's like billions of users or who knows how many, I've never gotten past 4,000. It's fucking ridiculous. So fucked. So despite how suppressed we are, despite how hard they work to keep us from being heard, despite how much they try to control us by threatening jail time or huge fines or whatever else, or like constant surveillance, blah, 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 somehow the word got out enough. Somehow enough people started to understand, wait a second. Why the fuck would we let you turn our nuclear power plants off, you fucking tyrants? And again, like Alex said, either it's because they're genuinely scared of being skinned alive, or because they're just like didn't expect that much pushback and aren't sure what to do about it. I'm not sure, but this is a good thing. And if we can keep it going, keep this win going, they might not even be shut off in April. We don't want to forget as it gets warmer that we still do need the power. So I hope that that's true. I hope the people there are going to keep the pressure on. I hope Greta keeps being behind them if people care about her enough to listen, and that other people do too. Those are huge wins, huge, huge wins. Celebrate, celebrate. Here's some more wins. PayPal, as we know, threatened to take our money if we say bad things that they don't like in public, and to just do it willy nilly and however they decide to. $2,500 a pop, they threatened. So, this is a really handy list from Activist Post. I'm going to put this in the chat as well. This is 10 alternatives to PayPal that you can use. And I have only known and talked about one of them, which is Stripe, but Gab Pay is an option. Gab, of course, is one of the alternative social media sites as well. They're having their own payment software and system, and so Gab Pay is an option similar to PayPal. They do charge. PayPal didn't for a long time. They only charged like a penny, but now PayPal charges a lot, and so Gab's charges are similar to PayPal's. It's not a lot. It's a lot when you went from paying nothing ever for these transfers to paying some. But they do charge some. They say Stripe charges 2.9% or 30% or 30 cents per transaction, which I didn't know. So I guess they're similar. They're all comparable in their fees in that way. Glorify, I guess, is another option. Second Amendment processing is another option. Parallel economy is another option. Revere payments, probably playing off of Paul Revere, just fun. Align Pay, privacy.com, BTC Pay Server, which is a way to pay for Bitcoin, I'm guessing, and maybe other, or pay with Bitcoin and perhaps other e-coins. And Exodus is a cryptocurrency wallet as well that has a built-in exchange. Cake Pay is another option. So some of these are also incorporating or only using e-coins, and some are just like PayPal and use both. But there's just a lot of options. So if you've recently left PayPal and you're wondering what to do, all of those are cool. I do think they did not include Zelle or Cash App because they use PayPal. I think they like piggyback off of it, just like every e-coin piggybacks off of Bitcoin. So you may as well just go to the ones that have their own systems so they don't get affected by PayPal's options and stuff. So those are all cool. I just use Stripe for now, but to get person-to-person transactions, I haven't yet decided. So it's probably going to be one of these once I look into them more, and you can do so now too, if you didn't already. I don't know why I repeated that. Biden, of course, and this is only a win because it's so fucking ridiculous. Biden has released 15 million more barrels from oil reserve and possibly more. This just came out yesterday. Again, he continues to drain this. I'd never cared about the strategic reserve or really understood it. But now that we have this worldwide planned global fuel shortage happening, getting rid of our reserves is the stupidest thing to do in the light of fuel shortages, well, especially while we are not replenishing them, and especially while other countries and places are refusing to sell or ship us any fuel. So we're just creating the likelihood of our own massive fuel shortage here. If you don't already have alternative ways of getting around, like bicycles and other shit like that, and ways of warming yourself, like fires, wood stoves, the like, you may want to look into those things as well, like we've been saying for a long time, but here's even more evidence. But again, we're winning because we can point to it and go, what the fuck do you think is happening when your president is treating you like this and doing this to our nation? It's very clearly the most horrible choice possible. I don't even know what like the possible positive spin on this is. Like what are they saying is the reason for it? I don't know if they give reasons. But again, because fossil fuels lead to carbon emissions, Biden has sought to move away from them entirely. That's it. That's the whole story. There is no other reason. It doesn't matter if people be plunged into poverty or die or eat each other because there's no food or whatever, just so long as there's no carbon emissions. Sure, Biden. So the more we can point out how fucking ridiculous those things are, the more we win. And finally tonight, wow, we can go for a long time sometimes. We're almost going to fill out 2 hours here. But it's always fun to hang out with you guys. So I just want to show you this weird fucking article. I don't know how this is even a win. I just had to share with you because it's so fucking bizarre. But you know, everything tied to CERN is bizarre, and it's almost like they're trying intentionally to make it as both like full of mystique and weirdness as possible on the scientific side, but also on the sort of like esoteric, weird woo woo side. Remember, they purposely made that movie. I always forget what it's called, but it's like Moving Stillness or so. It's some fucking stupid ass name. And it's all these like dancers inside of CERN doing weird, like magical fucking spells or so. Like it's fucking bizarre. It's its own weird little ritual and ceremony for sure. They don't do shit like that on accident. That was all inside of CERN as CERN was opening. They also then did the Kali fucking fake sacrifice thing. There's all kinds of weird shit they did. All the science they connect with CERN is also just as wrapped in mystique. They're like, ooh, there's parallel dimensions and universes and time travel and all of this shit. All of it's just fucking black magic as far as I'm concerned. But now there's this article. This is from the 12th of October. It's published on nature.com. It's a pretty mainstream, big deal site. And it's called Dragon Riders of CERN Learning to Fly. And I'm just going to read you some of this. They have this like fake DNA looking sort of like mystical molecular structure that's in the shape of a dragon. I mean, maybe they want people to think that's a real picture of a particle or something. I don't know. Well, no, it says illustration below it, but it's so they start off, yes, humans do ruin everything, but it's not their fault. You got soft on your last assignment. Yes, yes, I'm sure you were very fierce. They probably still sing the praises of what did they call you? Edraglus? Sure, undoubtedly, all humanity still knows of you all these centuries down their timeline. What the fuck is Edraglus? Like, what the fuck is this article? It's so weird. I'm just looking this up to see. Sounds like Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil. It's Welsh, so I guess that's connected to dragons. Anybody knows what this means? Two heavenly dragons. So drag is a heavenly dragon. So something about a heavenly dragon was the name of whoever this writer is talking to. They go on to write, that's not why you're here, though, cadet. You're here to learn to be a writer. With your stints at galactic and planet dweller scales completed, the only thing standing between you and being cleared to roam the universe as you will, a free dragon, is your atomic scale service requirement with me. Why is this written in second person? Why is it so fucking creepy? Who the fuck are they talking to? I'm like, I don't I don't know what this is supposed to be doing. They're just pretending like there's time travel and dragon creatures and like gravity, finding gravity has something to do with it. And it's supposed to be like science fictiony, but I just have this feeling like this is a weird ritual again. Like it is actually talking to some sort of entity that they're trying to like release or something. Like it fucking makes you think of like the abyss and the beings that are supposedly locked there. Like I know I should have saved this for Middle Path, but I was just like, what the fuck, people? Remember the Middle Path Dragon episode? Like this would have been real creepy to add to that, especially when you think of all the implications that we talked about in that episode of what dragon actually means for us as spiritual beings. But it's weird. They talk about humans as this separate species, then whatever they're talking to and whoever's talking. Talking about draconic existence. Humans, they say, in the human timeline are becoming a threat to draconic existence. I don't know. And like, it's not written in like a fiction section. It's written in the futures section. Futures. Maybe it's a fucking job announcement. Like, I don't know. It is so weird. Oh, it is science fiction. Futures is their science fiction section. Oh, okay. Well, at least that makes way more sense. Weird. I didn't know they had a science fiction section. Okay, well, that's actually kind of cool. I still feel like this is creepy as fuck. Maybe I'm just tripping. I don't know. But I don't know, dude. CERN is fucking weird. Like I said, if you haven't seen that creepy ass, they call it a documentary, but it's really this like dancing ritualized art piece within CERN itself, as like their, they always have to do a ritual and gather all the energy to like start something, and it was the beginning of CERN. So I don't know. This feels like it just like creepily taps into this and talks about releasing like the dragons and the dragon riders from the molecules that they're smashing at CERN. And sometimes even fiction is like the channel for some actual truth. So whether this person is in on some shit, knows some things, or knows fucking nothing, and it really is just like a pile of fiction, shit can still come through. So it's interesting to read in that part. I don't want to read the whole thing, and I'm not joking, because I feel like there's something wrong with it, and I don't want it in my consciousness. So you can if you want to. I'll post it here in the chat for you. You can read whatever and be protected from it. Not trying to scare anyone, but I just don't always like to dive into stuff that is negative feeling to me for those reasons. Now, let me discontinue share screen. There we go. Oh gosh. Oh gosh, guys, what an episode. Thank you so much, Angie, for the tip. I always appreciate you so much. You are a great supporter here on Rockfin. Symmetry is what it's called. Thank you, Illuminati. That documentary, whatever I called it, Dancing Flow or whatever I said, it's actually called Symmetry. Oh, Illuminati says you can't find it anywhere now. Never seen the whole thing. Got to pay for it everywhere. I probably have never seen the whole thing either. It's another one of those same things where I saw parts of it and was like, that's enough fucking creepiness for me to know what they did and to not like need to see the whole thing. But it is from 2015. Tea Leaf says, some believe these dragons or demons have already been released. Well, I don't want to demonize dragons. And again, if you go watch the Middle Path episode that we did on dragons, you'll understand why dragons are actually exceptionally important to our spiritual development internally, or whatever you want to call that energy. It's been referred to as the dragon energy for a long time. So I don't want to malign it. But yes, thanks for hanging with me. Thanks for winning with me. Thanks for being the critical thinkers that you guys are. Thanks for being the aware, awake individuals. You keep us all sane. You keep me sane, knowing that you're all out there, knowing that you support this show, that you like, subscribe, share, tell people about it, find ways, tip, or whatever else you can to support the show. All of that means so much to me. It really does. It keeps me sane, makes me super happy. Tinfoil Tiara points out in the YouTube chat, dragon is another name for Satan. That's true, that great dragon. But remember, demons are angels. So dragons also can be demonic and angelic. That's that middle path. So you just got to see it both ways. They're both things. They're not, we can't look at all dragons as evil. Again, it was a good middle path episode if you want to check it out. But I'll stop talking about it now. We are winning, and one here. We are celebrating winningism. Again, I hope to do these once a week and hang out with you guys and cover the absolute absurdity of this world. But we see more and more sanity, and I'm not joking. We saw a lot of it tonight. All those things, the nuclear reactors coming back online or staying online. Again, whatever you think about nuclear waste, it's for now the cleanest energy that we have, and one of the best ways to keep ourselves alive through whatever they have planned for us, and all sorts of other ways that we are winning and seeing through things, that more and more people are seeing through it, and keeping ourselves healthy through it, and getting more and more decentralized and local with it. All of these things are good things, and I love to be winning so much with all of you. So thanks for being here and for being you as always. Thursday, we're going to do another awesome episode of Middle Path. If you're a supporter here on Rockfin, then you'll be there with us, and I'm excited to see you. And then we have some cool guests coming up. I know Cheney's coming back soon. I know Sophia Smallstorm's coming back soon. I know Miriam's coming back soon. It's not all women, but there's a lot of them coming up here. We've got always good stuff coming up in the future. So you guys are awesome. Thank you, Illuminati, for the tip. I appreciate you. Dakota, you're absolutely right. We are the change. And of course, David, with all of your rainbow rogueways, pics over there in the YouTube chat. Thank you for being a supporter in that way as well. I love you guys so much. And until you ride the good dragon within and discern against the evil dragons without, and ride off into the glorious natural sunset designed for you by God, which is the true matrix, inviting that seed that's within you, that seed that holds the design, inviting that design to unfold. That's the true matrix. That's the true sunset we're flying into. We're doing that with our own internal energy. We're doing it because we were made to do it. Until you do it and more, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
Waltz on a nimbus with an S of a gymnast. Stretch lung fitness, Mobius strip witness. Swim upstream through the fibers of infinity in the vicinity of infallible divinity. Outstretched arms, but flesh ain't allowed to taste it. No, so close as the moon bases above the light of dawn. Howling at the luna, gnawing at the wire into my organic computer. On the draw, it's the raw fallen star shooter. Rip the fabric of time, string theory suture. Past becomes the future, subconscious in the forefront. Lost the programming, obnoxious to the Lord's grunts. Tiptoe on obelisk, soaking nature's novelist. To the soul it's obvious, the optical ain't dominant. Matter seeming prominent to Gaia's drowsy occupants. Check the emerald documents, the depth of this is bottomless. Depth of this is bottomless. Bottomless. Depth of this is bottomless.